Jon Gruden has a message for Raider Nation.
Thank you for being a Raider fan, man. I appreciate your support of the Silver and Black, and I still claim that I'm a proud member of Raider Nation.
More on that in a bit. Plus, we have an update from Jon Gruden's lawsuit and how this judicial decision may accelerate his return to the NFL. Gruden has been mentoring a lot of NFL players, not just Derek Carr. Some of them may surprise you. One of Jon Gruden's newest activities is doing cameo videos. Cameo is a website where you can book a celebrity, any kind of public figure, and request that they say happy birthday to your friend, congratulate them on their job or whatever.
This is supposed to be the most fun time in your life. Bachelor party before your wedding. You're making everybody go to Bend. Where the hell is that? And then, the rule about no strippers. Whose rule is it? Yours? Is it your fiance's? I mean, come clean with us.
You could even request for him to promote a business. Maybe I could request for him to promote Wi-Fi Willie's YouTube channel. The reason why I have not done this sooner is because Gruden has only been doing Cameo since April of 2024. This has only been going on for just a few months. Prior to Cameo, we heard reports of Jon Gruden training quarterback Carson Wentz. This was reported by all the insiders on NFL Network. Gruden was getting Wentz ready to be a backup of the LA Rams because head coach Sean McVay of the Rams runs Gruden's exact same offense. Gruden pretty much taught that guy how to be a head coach. Just recently, after free agency, quarterback Kirk Cousins of the Atlanta Falcons took some of his receivers to Jon Gruden's film study headquarters in Tampa Bay, and apparently it was an eye-opening experience for a lot of these Falcons players.
It was eye-opening. I think it broke down a barrier between all of us that was needed, and I think we all had the same goal at the end of the day, and that fires me up.
The quarterback, along with Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London, were hanging out with Gruden for 3 to 4 hours a day, watching film and talking ball. Not only was Gruden teaching these guys football, but it was a great icebreaker.
That trip was a nice break in the ice. I mean, we talked about some things that you normally never talk about, like what frustrates you, what's some things that you hate.
So watched a lot of tape. I didn't even know they had film at that time.
Kirk Cousins doesn't know these receivers that well, and Gruden helped them bond, build chemistry, made things less awkward. Maybe he told Kirk Cousins not to worry about Michael Penix. The new head coach of the Falcons, Raheem Morris, knows Jon Gruden really well. In 2002, while Gruden was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he gave Raheem Morris his first job as a defensive quality control coach. It's crazy to see Jon Gruden get some of these coaching gigs behind the scenes. We know Jon Gruden last year worked with Saints quarterback Derek Carr, but this year he started working with another Saints quarterback, and that is the former Fresno State Bulldog, Jake Haener. Jake Haener is entering year 2 of his career, and he said that Jon Gruden has been a positive force for him, and he's pretty much like this guy's full-time mentor. So we'll see if Jake Haener ends up blossoming into a star now that he's getting advice from somebody like Jon Gruden. And that's absolutely crazy that we have 2 teams in the NFC South actively working with Jon Gruden and their quarterbacks. The NFL pushed Jon Gruden out of the league, but these teams cannot help but bring him back. Jon Gruden has also been working with the Draft Academy. Draft Academy is a training and recovery facility with programs and classes that help college and pro athletes, and now they got Jon Gruden helping them out. You have this statement here: you know our guys are going to be different, they have no choice. Working with Jon Gruden, a Super Bowl winning head coach in high school, we're building something different at the Draft Academy. So these are up and coming college athletes actively working with Jon Gruden, and they seem stoked. And here you have him directing these kids.
You guys are both off. Yeah, there you go. Hey, man to man, what do you got? Steamer. There you go.
We've seen Jon Gruden do all of these gigs in the background, but the main gig we were all excited about was at the start of 2024 when there was the possibility that Jon Gruden could join the Saints offensive coaching staff in a serious role. Obviously, Jon Gruden already has that connection with Derek Carr, and in the second to last game of the 2023 season with the New Orleans Saints, Jon Gruden literally helped the Saints players and their coaching staff beat Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers. This game was in Tampa, so not only was the Saints coaching staff able to meet with Jon Gruden, but you even had the GM of the Saints, Mickey Loomis, have a dinner with Jon Gruden. This happened the week of December 31st, and a lot of people thought that Jon Gruden would eventually be hired by the Saints based on all these meetings and all of these reports. Not only were NFL fans surprised that Jon Gruden did not end up being the offensive coordinator or get hired in some role with the New Orleans Saints, but actually the NFL world and executives behind the scenes were surprised that Gruden is not a New Orleans Saint. Now, Gruden did not make a public comment about turning down this job. There's no public comment by the Saints saying what job they offered Jon Gruden, but the reports and the rumors were all there. They were working closely together hardcore. But it is quite obvious that Jon Gruden joining the Saints coaching staff would complicate his lawsuit against the NFL. Gruden is seeking monetary damages from the NFL and Roger Goodell for selectively leaking his emails, ruining his career, and scuttling some endorsement contracts that he had. So if he joined the Saints coaching staff as, say, their offensive coordinator, how could Gruden argue that his career is ruined if he's actively employed in the NFL? We know that Jon Gruden wants to coach again, and not only did he help out during that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, but if you follow this channel closely, you saw us report on Jon Gruden helping out with the Saints at OTAs, training camp, and minicamp. The dude looked happy hanging out with Derek Carr, and it did seem like he wanted to join the coaching staff. As we all know, this dude desperately wants to coach again, but his lawyers probably told him no way. In January, Gruden had his showdown with the NFL, where the Nevada Supreme Court heard oral arguments from both sides, the NFL and Jon Gruden, on whether or not his lawsuit against the NFL should go to arbitration or to trial.
See what you had to say about.
I have no comment. Thank you. Have a good New Year.
Do you think they're?
I said I don't have any comment, but thank you.
Well, but counsel, what about due process? I mean, to have a dispute with somebody who's the one deciding the dispute seems like there might be a problem there.
That organization was as much a victim as Coach Gruden was here because they received the unlawful influence and pressure from the NFL parties.
This showdown was broadcast on television, and it looked like good publicity for Jon Gruden. Unfortunately, 2 of the 3 justices ruled in the NFL's favor against Jon Gruden, saying that the case should go to arbitration. The one dissenting justice who ruled in Gruden's favor wrote that allowing Roger Goodell, the commissioner, to arbitrate a dispute in which he is named a party would be outrageous. And it is outrageous that they ruled against Jon Gruden, and kind of sketchy because they are basically saying that if you have been a former employee of the NFL, you can't sue them because you agreed to the NFL Constitution, which compels all disputes to arbitration where the commissioner decides. So after the Nevada Supreme Court ruled in the NFL's favor, Jon Gruden's legal team requested a rehearing, and now we have their decision on that today. ESPN and Associated Press has reported on this. Jon Gruden has lost his reconsideration, lost his chance at a rehearing. This just broke July 1st, 2024. This rehearing that Gruden's lawyers requested was for these 3 justices. They were basically going to review the case and rule again. We learned about the court's ruling through their website, where they posted rehearing denied. Jon Gruden's attorneys did not respond for a comment. Neither did any NFL spokesperson respond to messages after we learned about this decision. Like we said earlier, this rehearing was in front of those 3 justices. There's technically 7 in the Nevada Supreme Court. ESPN stated that they are not sure if Jon Gruden can pursue en banc a reconsideration in front of the full 7 Nevada Supreme Court justices. However, Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk has confirmed that Jon Gruden's only remaining move is to ask the U.S. Supreme Court to take up the case. But it's not likely that the Supreme Court would even take the case or rule in Gruden's favor. We know that previously Jon Gruden said he wants to burn the house down and he would not be satisfied with any amount of money. So I'm sure if he's able to push for an en banc review, if he's allowed to, he will. And if he is able to appeal this to the U.S. Supreme Court, I'm sure he will. But realistically, even if he did do that type of appeal, this could drag on for years and years. Jon Gruden is currently 60 years old. The guy wants to get back into the NFL as soon as possible. And the longer that this case drags out, that's just more years that he's is not coaching in the NFL. This case is clearly an impediment to him being employed in the NFL right now. It is bullshit that they are ruling against Jon Gruden in this case. Nancy Elf of the Clark County District Court did rule in his favor. He had a sympathetic judge who said he was in the right, but then the NFL was able to appeal that decision, and now it's looking less likely more than ever that Jon Gruden is going to be able to seek monetary compensation from the NFL for selectively leaking his emails and ruining his career. So at this point, if there really is no coordinated campaign to make sure that Jon Gruden is not a coach again because Roger Goodell has a personal vendetta against him, then Jon Gruden should be allowed to join a team next year in the next coaching cycle, whether it be as a head coach or an offensive coordinator. Clearly, several players and teams, not just the New Orleans Saints, are interested in Jon Gruden's services. So if there really is no coordinated campaign against him, I think he will be a hot commodity next year. And now that the lawsuit looks like it's pretty much over, I hope Jon Gruden tries to pursue a career in the NFL again, and I hope another owner welcomes him with open arms. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Do you think Jon Gruden will be back in the league as of 2025? My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.